Welcome to the Fast Leader Podcast, where we explore convenient yet effective shortcuts that will help you get ahead and move forward faster by becoming a better leader. And now, here's your host, customer and employee engagement expert, and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, Jim Rimbach.
Need a powerful and entertaining way to ignite your next conference, retreat, or team building session? My keynotes don't include magic, but they do have the power to help your attendees take a leap forward by putting emotional intelligence into their employee engagement, and customer-centric leadership practices. So bring the infotainment creativity of the Fast Leader Show to your next event, and I'll help your attendees get over the hump now. Go to beyondmorale.com/speaking to learn more. Okay, Fast Leader Legion, today I'm excited because we're going to get a chance to talk some good customer service and customer experience with somebody. Ashish Bisaria was born and raised in New Delhi, India. The elder of two boys, he was destined to follow the path of his father, who is a successful pediatrician. Little did they know that Ashish wanted to blaze his own trail. And did he blaze his own trail? He left India at the age of 22, and at last count, he's lived in more than 7 countries and traveled to 99 countries as of December 2016. Ashish's passion is in driving change. His personal and professional life are a reflection on his comfort with change. After all, you would not live in different parts of the world and work for 6 different employers in 22 years of your professional career if you were uncomfortable with change, would you? The lens Ashish uses for driving change and innovation is customer experience. Companies often look at change from an internal financial growth perspective. Ashish helps companies change the filter and drive change from a customer's viewpoint. From his early career as a junior consultant with a Big 5 firm, he discovered quickly that to be heard in a room full of executives, that he needed to bring something different to the table. The customer experience lens was his trump card. Ashish has led multi-billion-dollar mergers, helped companies go public, transformed 40-year-old business models, and has grown companies exponentially. While all this may be his professional legacy, what is less known about him is the leadership qualities and his personal brand with which he leads. Multiple team members have moved jobs or relocated their families in order to continue their growth under his leadership. His legacy is building very strong relationships and future leaders of the world. His brand is reflected in his blog titled Life Reflections. Ashish currently resides in Atlanta as a single guy, allowing him to have a single-digit handicap in golf. He has 2 sons, 16 and 12 years of age, and they are the center of his world. And his proudest accomplishment so far is that he is creating 2 responsible citizens for the world in his boys. Ashish Bisaria, are you ready to help us get over the hump?
Let's get it done.
Ashish, thanks for joining me today. Now, I've given our listeners a little bit about you, but can you tell us what your current passion is so that we can get to know you even better?
Besides my passion to still compete with my 16 and 12-year-old boys in golf, it is about leading change. There's a Latin proverb that has defined my life. It basically says, if the wind will not serve, take to the oars. And what it really has done is, it reminds me that we always have headwinds, professionally, personally. And people who are willing to dip the oars in the water and start rowing will get to the other side. And that passion is what drives me.
So, Ashish, it very easily could be, too, that when you start talking about change and driving change, that the whole human component really gets kicked to the curb, as they say. So, I mean, how do you actually maintain or accentuate or, really, like you say, bring those people along with you without sacrificing them?
Jim, I think there's a big myth in the world that change causes fear. People are resistant to change because of fear. Here's my experience. When you are brought in or somebody's brought in to change, they forget to respect the legacy that these people have created in that organization. What change leaders often forget is the platform on which they are building was created by the hard work, blood, sweat, and tears of the people we get to lead. The difference for me is recognize that, celebrate the platform and the success that the organization has created to that point, and then build change on top of that. It allows people to come with you rather than doing something to them.
Okay, so for me, what you just described is really the change management focus when you use appreciative inquiry. Appreciative inquiry is based in positive psychology. It's been around for decades, but unfortunately, we don't look at positive psychology and appreciative inquiry as a method by which we would actually cause change to occur. But you just described it. So I have to ask, Are you a student of appreciative inquiry?
I am, not by design. I think in my career early on, many humps happen, and you learn very quickly, if you're paying attention, that changing the filter and being appreciative and building upon that is a far better, easier, sustainable change model versus come outside as a consultant and try pushing.
One of the things that made it stands out is a quite different approach when you just start looking at strategic planning and business approaches as a whole. In the traditional practice being SWOT, we talk about, strengths, weaknesses,
opportunities
and threats, right? And it's really negative and fearful in connotation. But appreciative inquiry doesn't take that approach. It takes a little bit different approach. Can you share that with us?
Absolutely. I will use three words that I use: futurist, curator, and director. And I'll elaborate. As a change leader and as an appreciative inquiry student, define the future which is built upon what the organization has provided. It's an important differentiation I want to make in the word futurist. One is this 5-10 years out future who nobody knows whether we're going to colonize Mars or not. And then is the tangible future, which is 6 months, 12 months out. Lead by defining the short-term future, which is built on the success of the organization already. Second, when you're trying to define that future, people come up with ideas, solutions, processes, technology, and you have hundreds of ideas. And just like a curator of a museum, you've got to make sense out of all those ideas and curate them into a theme which becomes the narrative of the project. It's important that that narrative is created by the people who have to come on the journey. It is their narrative. All I and the leadership is doing is curating it into a logical sequence. And then the final part is what I call the director. And the analogy is a movie director. You have artists, you have support staff, you have audiovisual people. Everybody has a role to play on the project. And good change leaders can then direct the pieces, the players, the cards that they've been dealt with in a way that results in that change. So those are the three words I've leveraged in my career to take appreciative inquiry into a tactical implementation model.
Well, and that I love that model. I also love the flip side of the SWOT model with appreciative inquiry, and you use SOAR, which is strengths. Yes, we definitely need to know our strengths. And I talk about using tradition to propel your tomorrow. What got you where you are core things that you need to preserve and oftentimes and look to enhance in order to help you get where you want to go. And then the other thing is your opportunities. So don't think about weaknesses, think about the opportunities that currently exist based on those strengths. And then think about your aspirations, because all of that needs to feed into where you want to go, right? So opportunities, aspirations, and then think about the results. The results that you're going to be able to obtain based off of all those things and where you want to go. And it aligns much better and more positively if we're already using our core, our power core, what we're good at, instead of thinking about where we need to move because we're fearful of getting taken out or whatever.
Jim, I love your concept of SOAR. I just love it. And building on that, as a change leader, there's always a fear and skepticism about you when you're coming from the outside. The worst thing we can do as an outsider is to use a SWOT model, which only reinforces the fear part and what's wrong with you, rather than start on the appreciative inquiry side to talk about what's good about you. And the part that people forget, I raised my hand to join the organization. Obviously, there were some strengths and some opportunities and upside I saw of why I wanted to be part of that storyboard. So if leaders understood that and embraced and started their journey from the appreciative side, you won half the battle of all the skeptics who are looking at you. Are you here to fire me? Are you here to change my world? Are you going to completely cause chaos? So I love your model. I'm going to be starting to use the SOAR model more and more.
Well, and definitely I didn't invent it. I mean, this comes straight out of, you can go to Appreciative Commons or Appreciative Inquiry Commons and look up the SOAR model. It's been established for a long time. And to me, it's one that I choose to use instead of SWOT, because I don't want to get people to focus on what you're talking about, focus on fear. I want them to focus on what the opportunities are, what we can actually build upon that we already have. Because I think what you're talking about with anything new, whether it's an internal or external change process, meaning a consultant coming in, is they start looking and saying, well, we need to fix this because it's broken. You've messed up if that's your first step. I mean, you're already going down a hole, and all you're going to do is just dig it bigger as you go along the way.
Completely agree, sir.
So when you start thinking about this from a customer experience perspective, and everybody's talking about customer experience, we need to do customer experience, we need to do this. I mean, to me, it's like, okay, enough's enough. Let's start getting to some action. How can people take what we've been talking about here for the last few moments and actually initiate customer-centric change?
So same around appreciative inquiry. We have spent years and decades of our life as an organization serving our customers. And we start by asking, how are we doing? What is wrong with us? What do I need to fix? And good organizations do something about that feedback. Average organizations use it as a vanity score, I call it. If the scores go up by doing a few things, they celebrate success. And then some organizations don't care. We can change that approach. Historically, there are two very radical approaches I've used. One is the positive reinforcement. Rather than always start about what's broken about us, let's talk about the moment of delight. Ask the customer, when you were doing business with us, when you experienced our service or our product, what did you really enjoy? That's what our organization and our people also need to hear. We've told them all the things that are broken, but let's talk about all the things that we are good at, because we need to build on those strengths. I am not discounting the negative feedback. I'm not discounting the traditional survey. All I'm saying is there's a place for a different survey also in the life of an organization. So that's one. The second more radical thing I've done is, at some level, customers are tired of telling us the same problem. I'm tired of telling the airlines that your peanuts don't do anything for me. And we continue still doing those surveys. In a couple of roles, instead of going to the customers and asking this question, we actually rattled out. The analogy is opening a kimono. We said, here are the top 10 things you've told that we are really bad at. I know we don't do a good job on these 10 things. Guess what? I can't fix all 10, and I need your help, my customer. What is most important to you? Rank these 10 things in what's the worst impact to your business or your life, and let us work on them, and we'll work on our transformation and our change in that roadmap. So I'm connecting my job and my role. I've left transformation from a customer experience lens. Rather than asking my CFO how much cost you need to cut, how much revenue you need, I've gone to the customers and says, here we are broken. I want to work on a transformation roadmap over the next 3 years, and you, my customers, are going to help build it. And we're going to start with the worst thing to the best thing. It is kind of an appreciative inquiry where we are telling the customers, I am bad, I acknowledge it, and I want to do it right by you. And those two things have been powerful transformation roadmap, because now your customers are bought into the journey. And if you've done all the other parts that we talked earlier with your people are bought in. What a positive environment that creates where everybody is aligned to that transformation.
I would also add to that, and thanks for sharing it. I would also add to that, a lot of companies won't address the things that they aren't going to change. Meaning that, okay, so we picked out these 10 things, and you're saying that, we're not doing well at these 10 things. Well, you know what? The first 3, we're not going to do anything about, because that's not who we are.
Yep.
And companies are like, well, we've got to be, everything to everybody. No, you don't. I mean, you have to pick your lane and you have to stay in it. So, if I am talking about going back to the airlines example, if I'm on a particular airline, say, the Southwest, everybody loves them, right? But, I'll know I'm not going to serve you that particular meal on that particular flight at that particular time, because we're a discount airliner. We're not going to do that. That is not who we are. So if you want that, we're not the right fit for you.
Yep. And Jim, that takes a lot of courage for an organization to be that honest, because we rather avoid that tough chat with our customer than be honest. And I agree, Southwest is a perfect example. They made it very clear to their customers who they are and who they are not. And there are multiple successful organizations who've made it very clear. I use Cirque du Soleil as a perfect example. They agree that they're not going to be a cheap, animal-loving corner show. They're going to charge premium rates that are not affordable by most. They're going to put a show which is very different than what a circus looks like. And they're going to use people to create that same ambience of what animal and humor could do for them. And I love examples like this where companies are very, very honest about it.
Very true. So I think this goes back to a different viewpoint of transparency that, we often don't consider is, saying who you're not going to be, even if it upsets a certain, subgroup or group of customers. And it's okay to do that. Pick your lane, know who you are, be true to yourself, be transparent about that, and, really take that core strength and use it to move forward. Now, what we're talking about here is just loaded with tons of passion. And one of the things that we look at on the show are quotes to help drive some of our own passions internally and as a collective. And so is there a quote that you can share that helps give you some passion?
Yes. So there are two quotes. One which is external, which I remind when we are doing transformation. And I'll start with the story, but then I'll tell you the quote. Often early in the transformation, I'll ask people this question. Are you willing to bet your entire salary that you can predict the future? And an audience of 100 people, 0 hands are up because nobody is willing to predict the future. And goes back to my concept of futurist. And I turn that on the quote I say is the best way to predict the future is to design it. And that's what transformation is about. We've been given a unique opportunity by a company who's willing to invest a certain amount of dollar to create a future. I can predict it by designing it. And that's one quote that I use externally a lot. Internally for me, I have worked with high-tech, .com, telecom, automotive, and now I'm in a financial services. So if you look at industry, I'm agnostic to industry. I'm a student in every new job. I'm learning about the industry. I'm learning about everything. So I have to tell something to myself that creates the confidence, because you can't lead transformation if you don't understand the business model, and the business fundamentals. And I'm going to quote from a movie, Ratatouille, and the main character, Remy the rat. There's a line in it which says, anyone can cook. And while it may have been lost, here's what it made sense to me. Here's a movie about a rat. The last thing you want to see in your house, less in your kitchen cooking for you. And here's a rat who believes that anyone can cook and actually goes on to become a chef in France. And it's a good reminder to me to say that if you have the curiosity, the passion, anyone can cook. So I may not be an expert in financial services or automotive or .com or high-tech. But if I dig deep and if I'm curious and if I'm passionate, I will learn and I'll be able to lead better.
Oh, I love that quote. Good point. So I know with being someone who grew up, left India, left, the parent and the prodigal, following of, being a pediatrician and moving to all these different countries and, being with a lot of different companies and family. And I mean, we have humps that we have to get over, and I'm sure you've had to get over a lot with all that transition. But can you share a particular story that really made a difference for you?
There's a specific story that I can think of again and again in my career. I'm sitting in early on with my peer group, and we are sitting and discussing how does this transformation going to take place. And the transformation, we all know, has 3 major legs: things around people, things around processes, and things around technology. The process leaders are clear. Smart industrial engineers, they can break a process, 20 steps, look at waste, errors, remove this, remove that. Very tangible, very tactical. You know what that means. People on the other side is the hard change management, everything. But somewhere in between is technology. And I remember my peer, the chief technology officer, is sitting and pontificating about transformation. talking about this future world of putting cars on the moon and colonizing Mars and everything with no specificity, with no clarity. And here is a leadership team that needs to now walk out of a room and take thousands and thousands of people on a change journey without any specific examples. And I know I cannot be successful if my partner in crime, the technology leader, cannot take this broad vision into very tactical steps. That moment is when you sit back and you look and say, are we doomed right out of the gate? Because no one in the room is really translating what we are asking into tactical steps. And the analogy I use is, if I'm a bicycle manufacturing company and I want to colonize Mars, I cannot just talk about colonizing Mars without understanding how to go from bicycle manufacturing to rocket manufacturing to safety to putting a man in the rocket and taking there. That was one clear moment in my life that I have to use again and again to fix.
So what happened?
Two things. Side conversation with that leader is an important part. And what I'm trying to say over here is, it is very important that when there is a huge disconnect in a leadership room, you do not start in a public forum fixing it. Find a one-on-one with the person that you think is missing the point. And find ways to get aligned. Find ways to understand why that person is thinking what they are thinking. See if they understand the challenges you are seeing, and also try empathizing of what they are dealing with. So my first step was to step out of that room, catch the leader, spend some time over the next couple of weeks really trying to make sure that, did I misread the information, or is truly we have a problem? Unfortunately, in this case, I had a problem with the leader. So here's a leader who's truly not understanding how to translate a broad vision into execution. Now I have to turn that around because I have to work with this leader. This is where my history of 3 was futurist, curator, and director comes in, where I sat with this leader and said, okay, got it. We're going to go colonize the Mars. What's the first thing we need to do in your area that we can go out and get done? Because we are not going a bicycle manufacturing to colonizing Mars in one broad step. And nobody's giving us 5 years in a black box to go create something, and 5 years from now come out and say, voila, here's magic. Helping that person to understand that future can be tangible and long-term was the next step. Weeks of discussion with him and his team to break it down into tangible parts. Now, I want to be very careful of not painting a broad brush in technology. I have another quote over here. You cannot code imagination. Technology is about zeros and ones. They have to be hard-coded. Operation change leaders have this imagination and this dream that they're articulating in broad words, and it's tough to automate that. So here's my leader. He's saying, I get it that I'm talking big, high-level things, and you need more specificity, but your dream is also not very specific. So can you break your dream down? So this is the part of futurist where you have to get very defined both on what is that operation dream, the process dream, the people dream we are talking about, and then talk to the technology people to say, what is that technology that matches that? That process was our first step to get over the hump. Painful, long discussion, some territorial fights at time, a lot of blame game, a lot of victim mentality of old architecture cannot do this, and I've been given cards that I can't play with. And that hump can take weeks and months at time. But no point jumping onto the rocket if we do not solve for that.
So when you start thinking about, you got a lot of things going on, trying to get that handicap down lower, a lot of change management activities. When you look at one goal, what would it be?
Look back and look forward. History gives me a perspective of what worked and what did not work. And I absolutely spent time doing that. But I don't obsess about it. I don't ruminate over it. My job, personally, professionally, both, is to look forward. That's what I do.
And the Fast Leader Legion wishes you the very best. Now, before we move on, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. The number one thing that contributes to customer loyalty is emotions. So move onward and upward faster by gaining significantly deeper insight and understanding of your customer journey and personas with emotional intelligence. With your empathy mapping workshop, you'll learn how to evoke and influence the right customer emotions that generate improved customer loyalty and reduce your cost to operate. Get over your emotional hump now by going to empathymapping.com to learn more. All right, here we go, Fast Leader listeners. It's time for the Hump Day Hoedown. Okay, Ashish, the Hump Day Hoedown is a part of our show where you give us good insights fast. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and your job is to give us robust yet rapid responses that are going to help us move onward and upward faster. Ashish Bisaria, are you ready to hoe down?
I am ready to hold on.
All right. So what do you think is holding you back from being an even better leader today?
Over curiosity. I spend and spread myself thin on reading, on travel, on golf, on kids, at work. I think there are times I need to really focus.
What is the best leadership advice you have ever received?
Remy from Ratatouille. Anyone can cook, my friend.
What is one of your secrets that you believe contributes to your success?
Incredible curiosity.
What do you feel is one of your best tools that helps you lead in business or life?
My blog, which is about looking back, and my calendar notebook, which is about looking forward.
What would be one book, and it could be from any genre, that you'd recommend to our listeners?
Strongly recommend people to read The Art of Possibility by Ben Zander.
Okay, Fast Leader Legion, you can find links to that and other bonus information from today's show by going to fastleader.net/Ashish Bisaria. Okay, Ashish, this is my last Hump Day Hoedown question. Imagine you were given the opportunity to go back to the age of 25. And you've been given the opportunity to take the knowledge and skills that you have now back with you. But you can't take everything back. You can only choose one. So what one skill or piece of knowledge would you take back with you, and why?
Explore your passion. At age 25, I did not appreciate my passion outside of work. I have passion in music, sports, life, friends. And I became too singularly focused on a single professional goal rather than exploring my passion.
Ashish, it was an honor to spend time with you today. Can you please share with the Fast Leader Legion how they can connect with you?
The best way to connect with me is my LinkedIn profile. You can find me as Ashish Bisaria, and my Twitter handle, which is @Ashish Bisaria.
Ashish Bisaria, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. The Fast Leader Legion honors you and thanks you for helping us get over the hump. Thank you for joining me on the Fast Leader Show today. For recaps, links from every show, special offers, and access to download and subscribe, if you haven't already, head on over to fastleader.net so we can help you move onward and upward faster.